Hello and welcome to another screencast from eDesign 360. This is your host, Ames Brown, and today we're going to examine the process of building a Flash presentation that has an audio narration which flows nicely from slide to slide, allows you to jump around, and keeps the audio totally in sync. So to do this, we're going to work with a Flash template. I have Flash up on the screen right now with the template showing the timeline. And we're going to add a new layer, and we're going to call this layer audio. And we'll take that layer and we'll add it under text and images. And you can see that these are all keyframes here that have the content on it. So we want to take the highlighted audio layer and break it into keyframes so that we can assign audio chunks to each frame. So we'll just say convert to blank keyframes. There we go. So now we have a layer where we can put audio on each to go along with our text and images. But the key is that Flash does not provide you with an audio recording capability, although it has a number of editing features for tweaking the behavior of audio. But we need to use another tool to record our audio. And so we're going to use Audacity. Audacity is open source and free, and it's a very powerful DAW, digital audio workstation, and many audio professionals enjoy using it along with their other pro tools. So we have to imagine that we've already gone through and recorded our presentation. Well, how would one do that? Well, let's assume that you had your text and images on, and you did your test movie, and you went ahead and used Audacity, and while Audacity was set to record mode, you talked your way through, you narrated the slides and advanced to keep the content in front of you and think in terms of somebody viewing the text and visuals to go along with your talking, your speech. So so then you're done with your audio recording and you export it as an MP3. Now you need to make it behave properly to associate it with all of your separate frames, your separate slides. So we'll come back to Audacity and we're going to import audio because we already have our recorded file here. And it's just called Presentation Recording 1. And so I'm bringing it in. All right, so it has fit the whole recording. You can see that it's a little over 10 minutes long into the screen. And I can expand it so I can better see the audio form. And now I need to chunk it out. And this is fairly easy. I look for the spots where I was switching between the frames or slides as I narrated the presentation. And so I can press the space bar
as it goes. If
to check out where I am. And so what I'm going to do is, let's imagine this is our first chunk here. Well, actually, let's take it back a little bit here. Okay, so you can see that when we're looking here at 2 minutes 30, we're going all the way to the end, okay? And if I'm backing up and saying, well, for my first slide, I was talking for roughly 2 minutes. And I'll just move along here. And let's suppose that my break was right here. I have silence. Now, it's helpful if you leave a little silence while you're recording a long narration like this. You leave some silence between narrating for one slider frame and narrating for the next, since the purpose is to get the recording and be able to chunk it. So I can highlight this all the way back to the beginning. And I'm going to go up under File, Edit, and I'm going to say Split New. So Split New is going to start a new track with that. All right, so I've separated out that file, and if I come back out so I can see more of this at once, I can move on to my next chunk. And so let's suppose that my next chunk was right here. I'm just doing this very roughly for demonstration purposes. So I would go up to Edit, Split New, okay, and now I've got a new chunk. So then I would come and come on to my next chunk. Maybe my next chunk is only fairly short for that content, just over a minute. And so I come up to Edit, Split New. Of course, you can use the key commands as you get better. Right? Let's say that was my next point. Of course, you would be listening and checking your time points as to where you want to split. And so I come up and do Split New. And let's assume that this was actually the end of the presentation. And just to keep things orderly, I'm going to Split New again. And now I'm through with my original file. I'll just close it. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides. And I can scale this down to view it more compactly. If you say fit vertically, you can see that I've now collapsed my tracks down so they fit within my screen. Okay, so now I'm ready to export my tracks separately as separate MP3 file chunks. I can do that very quickly. I come up here and I'll select the first one, and I'll do File, Export Selection. Make sure it's Selection, not Export, because Export will combine all the tracks together. Export Selection is just what you have selected. And I do Export Selection, and I'll just call these a nice sequence. I'll do audio _01 for my first one, and do Save, and OK. And it's exporting. And then I'll go and do the next file, Export Selection. And this one I'll call Audio 02. And I ignore the header file information. I just want to get these done very quickly. I'm not going to be using them separately. I'm going to be bringing them into Flash. And then I would just close out of Audacity. I wouldn't save anything because I've already exported everything I need. So I switch over to Flash, and I want to put the audio on the timeline here, but first I need to go into my library panel, and here I need to add my audio files. So I'm going to go under File and Import to Library so that I add them to my library first. And here we can see, let me just bring it onto my demonstration stage here. So we see those audio recordings. This is the original presentation recording. And I'm just going to select them all. So I hold down my Shift key and select all 3 files. See how they're nicely sequenced. I know which slide or frame they go with. And I'll click Open, and it's now going to add them to my library. So you can see now that I have the audio files added to the library. And so I might have something that goes along with my title screen, and that's the 01 piece. So I click on the audio frame, and I just take the audio 01 and I just drag it onto the stage. And now you can see, if you look closely at frame 1, that a equivalent of a mini waveform was added to the frame to show that there's audio on it. And I'll go and do this for audio 2. Oops, onto the stage. Right, don't drag it onto the timeline. So here we have the first 3, and you would continue on with the rest of your audio chunks. Now, the one last thing that you have to do is to add one more feature to your action script on your buttons. So if we go into navigation, and oops, I have my navigation locked, so I wouldn't make any mistakes. So I'll unlock it here under the lock column, and now I can select the buttons. And I'm just right-clicking or 2-finger control clicking on the Mac. I'm interested in timeline control here, and I'm going to come over in the on release next frame. I'm going to add one other feature, stop all sounds. I'll get rid of the empty space in between. So it's going to stop all sounds before going on to the next frame, and this will prevent overlap. So we'll do the same for the back button. And actions, and I'll come after the opening brace here, stop all sounds. And I'll do the same for the rewind. So now if a user or learner wants to quickly advance through a slide, or says, oh yeah, I remember that portion, and clicks next, or clicks next very quickly, you won't start getting the audio overlapping from the previous frames. So the audio stops playing, it goes to the next frame, or it goes to the previous frame, or it goes to the end. And you now have audio narration added to your Flash presentation file. Of course, you still need to make sure that you have some nice text on your text layer for each frame, and some nice visuals on your images layer. So that's it for a brief look at combining work between Audacity and Flash for creating an interactive presentation with audio narration. This has been eDesign 360. Join us again for another screencast in the near future.